For sure. Navina, you want to? So can we start?
Sure.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Namaskar to all. It is indeed a great privilege for Canteen in collaboration with CFNS, Coalition for Food and Nutrition Security, to organize this very important panel discussion with four of our champions in the nutrition. To introduce myself, I am Binu Anand. I lead the We Collaborate. In short, is called We Can. And I would take this opportunity to welcome each one of you for this panel discussion. This panel discussion could not have been organized on a more opportune time, than the month of March. September every year we have been in March, and even in this year, with all the challenges in front of us, I think the rigor and vigor of Ocean must still continue, as you all can see the kind of various activities happening across the country. Every organization participating and ensuring that beneficiaries are reached. Although COVID has thrown unprecedented challenges in front of us, but still, I think using the digital platform, we have been able to overcome a lot of these challenges. And here we are again on the platform with all of you here. So thank you for logging in and being part of this discussion. Today's panel discussion is of great importance. It's very crucial for all of us because we're going to be touching upon two very important aspects of the nutrition work that the governments and all the partners have been doing, which is ensuring household level convergence and improving nutrition, improving the quality of nutrition services. Convergence is something that all of us, right from the time we've all been working, have been in one or the other way trying to address convergence, because convergence by its nature does not happen with ease. There is a lot of effort that's required, and it requires all of us to come together and push the agenda of convergence. But I think what is the most important aspect of convergence is convergence happening at the household level, where we can ensure that all the services across all the different platforms across different departments are reaching the beneficiaries, and beneficiaries are actually able to access those services, and that making a difference in their lives. I think that is where the buck of convergence stops for us, and that actually kind of lays a path for us to initiate a discussion and deliberation on the importance of convergence, the current scenario of Ocean Abhiyan. I think along with convergence, when we look at what other important aspect could be, it is the quality of nutrition services. I think it is of great importance that we start talking about defining what quality of nutrition services means. We kind of have those basic standards set, and all of us striving to achieve that basic standards of quality across nutrition services. And I think this discussion today is only one of the initiatives by all of us in different capacities being taken, and it will continue going ahead with more deliberations around how does we achieve household level convergence, and how do we kind of ensure that the quality of services are improved. So I would really want to believe that this is just one of the many series of events going to happen, and we'll be very happy to initiate the whole process. And I think we're lucky enough to have a stalwart in the nutrition arena who would moderate the entire panel discussion for us. And we have three champions from three states who have proved what leadership could do, leading from the front and setting up examples in terms of improving quality as well as household level convergence in nutrition. Without any further delay, I would like to introduce the panelists, and beginning with Professor Dr. Satish Agnihotri. As I said, he's a stalwart in the nutrition arena. He is currently associated with Center for Technology Alternatives for Rural Areas, which is in short called CITARA, which is based out of IIT Mumbai. Professor Agnihotri has been a career bureaucrat and has served the government of India and government of Odisha under several capacities. He has done extensive work on child malnutrition. Under his initiative, the government of Odisha had launched a campaign in 1998 to eliminate severe malnutrition among children. His commitment lies in the area of rapid reduction of child malnutrition, advocacy based on evidence, promote cross-sector collaboration. His research on declining sex ratio in India has been approvingly cited by various scholars, including Professor Amartya Sen. So I think we could not have got any other better person than Dr. Agnihotri to moderate this wonderful panel discussion today. We are extremely honored to have you, sir. We welcome you to the panel.
Thank you.
Going forward, we are privileged to have three champions, as I said before. To introduce, we are privileged to have Manisha Chandraji, Commissioner and Secretary, WCD, Women and Child Development Department, Government of Gujarat. She is an officer of 2004 batch, IAS officer of 2004 batch, and she has worked closely with community well-being as a collector and district development officer in various districts of Gujarat. She has in-depth understanding of ICDS services, and she has been the director previously for ICDS. And she has been able to initiate remarkable initiatives in the state, like fortified home ration to dairy cooperatives, which is happening now, double fortified salt. There was an initiative on hot cooked meal for pregnant and lactating women, and a series of other innovative initiatives that Manisha Chandraji took. She's very passionate about her work and completely committed into what she does, and that is what makes her a champion here. We welcome you, Manisha ji, to the panel discussion. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Dinesh K. Saxena. He's currently the Director General, State Nutrition Mission and Special Secretary to Department of Women and Child Development, Jharkhand. Dr. Saxena is a 1995 batch IFS officer and has vast experience and knowledge of public health and nutrition programs in India. He has served as the National Director for ICDS System Strengthening and Nutrition Improvement Programs, which is ISNIP, at the Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India. He has contributed into the development of ICDS CAS for Poshan Abhiyan. Dr. Saxena has served as the Executive Director of NRHM in Department of Health, Medical Education and Family Welfare, Government of Jharkhand. And he was instrumental in the inception and operationalization of NRHM in Jharkhand. He has also served as a project director for Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan in Jharkhand. He has in-depth understanding of interdepartmental convergence, and he's been one of those leaders in the state who's put in a lot of time and effort into ensuring convergence happens. We welcome you to the panel discussion, sir. The third panelist that we have is Ms. Swati Meena Nayak, who's the Director, WCD, Women and Child Development Department, Government of Madhya Pradesh. Ms. Swati was only 22 years old when she became an IAS officer in 2007, probably one of the youngest IAS officers that we have. She has served as the district collector in various districts of Madhya Pradesh, and also served as a managing director of MarketFed before joining Department of. As additional state project director of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, she led in the implementation of SSA schemes across Madhya Pradesh, and as the director, Women and Child Development Department, Ms. Swati has introduced the State Nutrition Management Strategy, a target-driven approach by engaging community, focusing on better nutrition for women, children, and adolescents. We welcome you to this panel discussion, Swati. I will not make the participants here to wait more before we start the discussion. So may I request Dr. Agnihotri to take over from here, a brief introduction about the panel discussion, and lead from there. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, am I audible, Binu? Thank you.
Yes, sir, you are. You are audible.
For that rather generous introduction. When he says I'm a veteran, etc., it also might mean that a dinosaur being the moderator among very agile And I can see Manisha, Dr. Saxena, as well as Swati over here. I mean, they are used to a very different batting style. But courtesy our students who keep me on the toes, I am keeping in touch with the current developments as well. So hopefully it won't be so disappointing. I'll just make some very brief observations and then go to the panelists, because you know, an ounce of practice is much better than a ton of theory. And what the three of them are doing right now is the tons of practice. Okay, so one thing I think let me underline that NFHS 4 has changed the paradigm decisively, because it for the first time gave you a large district level good quality data, and its analysis, even the preliminary analysis, brought home certain things very clearly. One of the message was that, look, it is the preventive aspects which will give you much more bang for your buck rather than the curative aspects. Secondly, the computing power and techniques are now available to us. Therefore, the Poshan Abhiyan was able to talk in terms of convergence right at the district level. And there again, emphasis is on preventive. Both Swati, Dr. Saxena and Manisha would bear with me that in our service, one of the problem is that prevention is not glamorous. So, you know, if you have a emergency and you tackle it well, then you get a lot of bites on the TV. But if you have prevented that particular emergency from happening, then not many people may notice it. But in the context of child malnutrition, I think prevention is imperative, even if it is not glamorous. This message gets driven home further and lot more strongly because of the pandemic. Because this current pandemic phase and post-pandemic phase, I'm sure a post-pandemic phase will be coming, it will necessitate a change of the standard operating procedures. So earlier, when we used to think that reaching ration to the doorstep of the school-going child or the Anganwadi-going child was a pipe dream, today, I'm sorry, it might become a reality. We are talking in terms of reaching mothers directly, sometimes through field functionaries, and this is a point which Dr. Saxena in one of the meetings brought very clearly to me. He said, sir, अगर local languages में video tutorial बना रहे हैं, तो let's go to the mother directly. And in fact, he has offered to canvas our spoken tutorials on breastfeeding and IYCF in Santhali language. In fact, we are going to do those in Santhali for Jharkhand. And similarly, when I was mentioning to Swati that I owe her an apology, we are actually making some of these videos in Korku language. So we are looking at directly going to the beneficiary. And again, today, the information technology and the firepower available allows us to go for what I call the beneficiary track. And all this, you don't have to be terribly ambitious and say overnight state ko malnutrition free kar denge ya India ko kar denge. It doesn't happen. What we need to do is we need to take small baby steps. So even in a relatively backward district, you get bright patches where you can afford to go for making that area malnutrition free. Recently, we had a discussion on urban child malnutrition, and I pointed out to Maharashtra Commissioner ICDS, I said, 26 NRC urban area mein hai. Urban is a completely different ball game. Can we ensure that 5-kilometer radius of that NRC becomes malnutrition free, or initially make it SAM free, then make it MAM free? And she says that this makes sense. So we also will have to look at creation of such enclaves. So that will be the second step of our work. Importance of exclusive breastfeeding and MIYCF, I think is going to be extremely crucial in the post-pandemic phase. Therefore, one of the efforts, as I said, we are already doing is the spoken tutorials in all Indian languages. I think we have no dearth of tutorials in Hindi and English, but the ability to take it to the Indian languages is something which is one of our USP. We had a program on that. Other extremely important thing where the Ministry of Rural Development has come to the help of Ministry of Women and Child Development is the NREGA support which has come to Nutri-Garden. And I'm quite happy that the Coalition of Food and Nutrition Security has lived to its name of food and nutrition security, and they have taken up Nutri-Garden as a focus area. So we will have to focus on all these things, give the inputs to the state governments, learn from the state government, and that is where the sharing of experience is extremely important. So I'm happy that we have Gujarat, Jharkhand, and Madhya Pradesh here, because sharing experience and more importantly, sharing our best practices. I think that is going to be the name of the game in future, and not a solo flight or solo bat. I mean, it's a team where everybody has to pitch in their score. An individual batsman doing 100 runs doesn't necessarily ensure you victory. So I will not take more time besides this. I'll straight away go to the panelists, and we will have Manisha first giving Gujarat's experience of strengthening ICDS. And I'm sure she will be able to elaborate what they have done in kind of directly reaching to the last mile and improving the quality of services. So over to you, Manisha.
Good afternoon, sir. It is my privilege actually to be a part of this panel discussion today in the august presence of Professor Agnihotri and other practitioners in the field of nutrition. I would be talking in brief about what we have done in the last few years so far as strengthening of services and ICDS services is concerned. As we all know, because we all work in the field of nutrition, we know that ICDS is the world's largest program for early childhood care and development. And when I talk about Gujarat, then it has a huge network of 53,029 Anganwadis, and we are catering to around 42 to 60 lakh beneficiaries, I would say, on a daily basis when the Anganwadis were not closed. But now at least once in a week, we are touching them. And that itself shows the huge scale at which we are working. So my presentation basically would focus on three things that we are trying to leverage in order to ensure that the services in ICDS are improved in Gujarat. First, of course, is how we are leveraging technology for service delivery. Next would be a brief discussion on what we are doing for human resources. And third, of course, would be, as Professor Agnihotri has just mentioned, how we ensure that the quality is there and how we reach to the last mile. Now, as I've already mentioned, that the scale of operations of ICDS is huge, whichever state it be. And ensuring, I mean, when I joined this department, I found that this department is, we work on such a scale that it's really difficult to ensure whether the mandate which is given to us under the different acts and different guidelines, whether we are actually able to actually fulfill that. And then in the course of the last few years that I've been here, we've developed a module through the use of technology. We've ensured, at least for the first time, that we are able to know that whatever we are supplying from the state, so far as supplementary nutrition is concerned, reaches the beneficiaries. And for that, we've come up with what is called Pushti, which is a portion umbrella for supply chain through tech innovation. It is a supply chain management system which we have set up for the entire SNB procurement and supply. It is very user friendly. We have, incidentally, in Gujarat, we have a very strong backup of the cooperative dairy network. And it is these dairies which we've roped in to produce the THR that we supply at the Anganwadi centers. And they are one of the most important stakeholders in our program. So we've developed a system which is being used by all our stakeholders so that every THR packet which is manufactured at the respective dairies is actually reaching the Anganwadi centers, and we are able to track it online. This I think is revolutionary, because I have seen those days also in this department where we never came to know what exactly was happening, when exactly the THR was reaching the beneficiary, and whether the beneficiary was actually getting it or not and consuming it or not. But today I can, with great immense pride, I can say that we have ensured that this through this supply chain management system, we've been able to ensure that the THR that was meant for the beneficiary is actually reaching the Anganwadi centers. And we've also built in a component of social audit, because as was being mentioned earlier, community ownership and community participation in any nutrition program is of great importance. And that is why we've introduced a component of social audit, so that on the 4th Tuesday of every month, all this THR is distributed to all our beneficiaries in the presence of the community. So this is a real-time monitoring system which has actually saved on a lot of time and resources. It has excluded all pilferage and corruption. It has ensured that the delivery is authenticated, because the Anganwadi worker who's receiving all the THR packets is actually getting it through authenticated OTP services that is there on her smartphones. So, and this has bridged the gap between the stakeholders and has strengthened our administration to a very large extent, because sitting here at the state office, I can know which Anganwadi center, to which Anganwadi center, how much stock has actually been delivered on which day and precisely at what time. So this is the kind of dashboard that we are looking at. We've also worked with the Food and Civil Supplies Department, and not only the THR, but even the food grains that were supposed to be delivered to the Anganwadi centers, the double fortified salt that we have introduced in the Anganwadi centers, they are all tracked. And this initiative of the Gujarat government has actually also been recognized recently by Niti Aayog as one of the most sustainable practices which can be replicated by other states. And it gives me pleasure to share this with you today in this panel discussion. Another important thing, because as was being discussed, we are faced with this COVID-19 challenge, and reaching out to the beneficiaries during this time, and more so also on preschool education, which unfortunately at many times does get shifted to the back burner, is also catered to. And for that, we have made use of the free-to-air channels that is available with us, that's called BISAC. And of course, the Doordarshan also has been roped in. We prepared preschool episodes which are being telecast every Monday on and nutrition and adolescence related episodes which are being telecast every Tuesday. We are using all means of technology, the social media, the mass media, to reach out to our beneficiaries, because we know that this pandemic is going to have a serious impact not only on nutrition but even on the overall development of the child, and we are supposed to cater to ECD. So these are certain initiatives that we've taken, so that we are kind of we are in touch with the parents of all these children, so that they know how exactly what exactly they can do with their child when the Anganwadi services are suspended. And so we have also developed a digital calendar of preschool activities, which is available on our website, and which we are also sharing through various media with the parents, so that they can know what exactly they can do with their children and engage them creatively. Now, to ensure that this entire services reaches the last mile of the last mile, one very important concept that we have initiated, in fact, it was the brainchild of our Honorable CM, is the Palak Wali concept, which was launched this year in January itself. The idea is that to enhance the community ownership of this entire program, the idea is to involve the people from the community and make sure that they voluntarily adopt the children who need some kind of special attention, primarily our severely underweight and moderately underweight children. We have identified around 70,000 such Palak Walis across the state. In fact, our CM gave the concept of one Palak, which means that every child has to be catered to and adopted by one guardian who would look after the child and all his needs, and mainly interact with the family and ensure that they take the right measures in order to bring the child out of the malnutrition trap. And this has been quite successful, though we've been, the COVID has been actually a major challenge for us. but we are gradually working, and especially in this month of Poshan Ma, we've been working with these Palak Walis and ensuring that they provide the local leadership and the kind of encouragement and motivation to the families of these children so that we can bring them out of the malnutrition. And another important, unless, I mean, sitting at the department level, I think we can talk about convergence, but convergence in the field is really very, very difficult to bring about. The first thing that we did was to ensure that the Anganwadi workers, the Ashas and the ANMs have co-terminus jurisdiction, which was not the case earlier. So the Anganwadi workers were reporting to several different ANMs, and there was a lot of hodgepodge in the field, which we have resolved again with the use of technology so that their areas of jurisdiction are co-terminus. So then the three, as we say, the AAA, they can actually work only when they know where exactly they are supposed to work and to whom exactly are they supposed to report. So for that, we have done what, and we call our AAA as Poshan Triveni. We've been training them. We have been ensuring that all three of them are there together, because they are the ones who are the game changers in the field. Unless they perform well, we are not really, I don't think we'll be able to make a serious dent in whatever we are trying to do. And for encouraging them, our CM has also come up with the idea of performance-based incentives, which we have already announced, and this would be given to the good performing AAAs, all three of them, after a third-party verification. Another important initiative which I would just like to share with all the distinguished panelists is that human resource is very, very crucial when we are talking about bringing about a change and setting high targets of ensuring that we reduce the numbers of SAM, MAM and others. Then we really need to have very efficient, very well-trained, good people in the field. And this again was a major challenge, as would be the case, I'm sure, in other states also, because these are the workers at the field, at the cutting edge, but their selection is very, very crucial. So only recently we've revised the entire norms of who exactly can be taken as an Anganwadi worker. We've come out with detailed guidelines on their recruitment, their training, their regular capacity building, and most importantly, we've ensured that all discretion is removed from their selection. So whatever was the criteria that we had decided, everything has been weighted. There is an online software on which these Anganwadi workers, the candidates, can apply. And it is the software itself which generates the merit. And as soon as the merit is generated, the appointment orders are given. So the recruitment currently is underway. And I'm very happy to share that we had around 7,000 vacancies, which were to be filled in 4 phases. We've already completed 2 phases, and around 1,600 of them have been posted without any major complaints. This was a major headache for the state because every year we were facing so many court matters, but this has improved. And incidentally, we've also got very well qualified Anganwadi workers in this process of selection. Another thing which is very important, which I have myself seen in the field, is the motivation levels of the Anganwadi workers and helpers is really low, because many things that they are supposed to get on time, they don't get. So we have again initiated, we prepared a platform for online payment of not only their honorarium, but even other incentives in due phase, which is due to them, so that they get it on time and then they are also able to deliver accordingly. Capacity building, we have very good institutions with us, working with us, UNICEF, IIPHG, and we can to help in the capacity building of the field functionaries, which I think is very, very crucial when we are talking about bringing a sea change in the nutritional landscape of the country. For me, I've always insisted, as everybody would agree, that quality is very, very important. So far, we've been we've always been talking about numbers, that we reach out to these many beneficiaries, but then whether we are actually maintaining the quality becomes equally important. So for that, again, we've made use of technology here, and through the Poshan Abhiyan funds, we have set up what is called the State Management Center. We have 16 desktop operators here working with us, who call the beneficiaries, the Anganwadi workers, the supervisors, all our stakeholders on a random basis. We are making around 19 to 20,000 calls per day, per month. And recently, when we had the breastfeeding week, all of us talked to the expectant mothers, all of us across the state. We had around 7,000 mothers in that period of 1 week who were expecting their delivery. And we talked to all of them, counseled them, right from the ministers to the collectors in the field. we ensured that each one of us talks to at least 2 to 3 such ladies, because as we were mentioning, we can straight away reach to the beneficiaries, and that's precisely what we are trying to do through our SMC as well. And the results have been really heartening, because whenever we make calls in the fields, we get very good feedback. We also get the feel from the field of what exactly is happening in the field and how we can kind of improve our services. And what we have seen from the phone calls that we've been making here is that around 95.44% of the cases, our THR is actually reaching the beneficiaries in time. In fact, this went extremely well during the COVID times when everything was locked and NFSA mandated that we had to ensure that people get their SNP, and we were able to do it. And this doorstep delivery of THR was around 97.39% during this lockdown time, which is very, very heartening for us. Similarly, we have insisted a lot on the home visits, because again, as was being discussed, it is very important for us to reach out straight to the beneficiaries. And for that, we have ensured that our people move in the field. Even their visits have been cross-verified, and around 99.4% of the home visits were done, not only done, but they were done qualitatively. This again was a result of a cross-verification that we had undertaken, and only around 139 household beneficiaries mentioned that the Anganwadi workers had not visited. So the slew of initiatives that we are taking primarily to ensure that the field level functionaries are vibrant, they work, they are dynamic, they go in the field, they engage with the people, and at the same time, they do quality work. That's precisely what we are trying to focus on. And I thank you all for the patient hearing, and I look forward to the discussions that will take place later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manisha. Excellent presentation. You didn't disappoint us as was expected. Just 2-3 observations that this convergence, and particularly making the supply chain management robust through dairy cooperative, I think I would suggest that Swati takes a serious note, because Madhya Pradesh dairy cooperatives are also pretty good. In fact, this can be suggested to various other states as a model where the dairy cooperatives are doing well. They could probably follow Gujarat example. This idea of predictable distribution of the ration, I think is excellent, because I remember even much before the IT-based payment was done in NREGA, Tamil Nadu had a system called Varam Varam. So when I went there as a NREGA Award Committee Chairman, I was asking them, "Ye kya Varam Varam kya hai?" So the ladies that told me that we know that either every Tuesday or every Friday our wages will be given. So Tamil Nadu had a fantastic record without involving IT because of the predictability. And this is something which I noticed. So I'm very sure your predictability of the thing reaching will make a lot of difference. I had a very quick point for your suggestion that these THR packets, are they getting QR coded? Because now what is happening, courtesy NREGA, QR coding and geotagging has become a child's play. So in case they are, it's absolutely no issue, but in case they are not, do think about it. And one grievance I will have against you, and if you say I'm wrong, I'll be a very happy person. I'm sure you have not documented it for posterity and given as an article, if not in EPW, in administrator. Well, at least you owe it to Masuri as well as you owe it to these children. कि उसका एक document कर दो, so that any other state, you don't have to canvass, you don't have to, I mean, they should call you up कि मैम वो पढ़ा आपका article, अब हमको समझाइए. So if you have not done this documentation, which is what I suspect, all of us do it. I mean, in fact, all of us take pride in doing very good work, not documenting it, leaving the job and then say, अरे वो करना था. So can I politely remind you, इसको kindly document कीजिए, administrator के लिए भेज दीजिए article. I would be very happy if you can pitch it for EPW or a similar prestigious journal. Okay, I will not take much of time. There's just one burning question on Gujarat, so we will just take that and then move on to the next speaker. Someone was concerned that Anganwadi Training Center and MLTCs in Gujarat, I think either they are not there, or the infrastructure is probably not currently in use. So how do we take care of the training, and more importantly, the refresher training? Because as you know, refresher training is always a casualty. So have you already thought through, or if you can quickly...
Can I respond?
Yeah, please.
Sir, thank you so much, sir, for your feedback. We are in the process of, sir, documenting. In fact, sir, I have also presented this we were shortlisted for the PM award also. So I have recently made a presentation for that. And we are also undertaking a study with the support of WeCan only to study this entire process that we have undertaken and what exactly has been the acceptability at the level of the beneficiaries, and also the ease which this system has brought in for the Anganwadi workers. So this is for the Pushti that you had mentioned. Secondly, sir, as regards the barcoding, sir, we have initiated this project in September 2018, and this entire state got covered this year only in January 2020 with the THR that is being supplied by the dairy cooperatives. Mm-hmm. So now that the system has streamlined, we are thinking of now barcoding it and ensuring that even each packet which is delivered at the Anganwadi center. So we are in the process. It will take some time, but we are definitely, this is at the back of our mind as the next steps are in strengthening for this further.
Manisha,
thirdly, sir, that you mentioned about contributing to administrators, sir, I'll surely do that. In fact, I'm fond of writing, but yes, that's correct. We don't really get that time to document and ensure that it reaches the right places. Okay. I'll surely do that, sir.
One quick point, Manisha. Sir, I was talking of QR coding and not barcode.
Okay, sir. That sir, fair enough, sir. That is to be done, sir, on the THR packets, right?
Yeah, the QR code, in fact, it contains much more information, can be transmitted through mobile, so your monitoring becomes much easier.
Yes, sir. We'll do that, sir. Yeah. And sir, the question regarding the training centers in Gujarat, sir, we had 14 training centers and one training center meant for the supervisors at the state level. They were all managed by NGOs. They were running till this year, March 2020. And then the government of India has now instructed that all government-run institutions only they shall be funding. So in fact, it was last year only, but we managed to get the extension till this year. And after that, of course, because of the COVID pandemic, the training right now is taking place virtually. We've been doing lots of trainings for our workers from the state office. But as regards these institutions, we've already identified 12 good state-run, government-owned institutions. We've already sent the proposal. So once that is approved by the Government of India, we shall be rolling it out. And as regards the refresher training, Government of India, sir, Ministry has already discontinued. They're not going to support refresher trainings, but we've already budgeted this year. So we have budgeted for the refresher training from the state funds, and we have in fact, sir, made it mandatory that all the Anganwadi workers and helpers have to undergo a mandatory refresher training every 2 years. And that is also, they also have marks for this, because once they are promoted, they are considered for nominations, even this would be taken into consideration. So because we have now mandated it as a part of our recruitment policy, we understand that it's also imperative for us to organize these refresher trainings, which we are, sir, in the process of doing it. So I'm sure we would not be disappointing on the training front, sir.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think, thank you very much. We will take more questions as we go along, but excellent, encouraging presentation, I would say. I think we will go from the west coast to the eastern side, and I think Dr. Saxena is there from Jharkhand. He has a lot of experience in the State Nutrition Mission, and he has done a lot of innovative work. So could I invite Dr. Saxena to give his presentation or his thoughts?
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much, WeCan, for having me here to share some of our experience from the state of Jharkhand to the August gathering that we are meeting, and we are discussing the issue of the convergence of the handling services that we are supposed to deliver to the people. I don't have any presentation, sir. I thought that I'll be discussing the few of the things that I thought proper for this platform. So I thought that I'll be discussing few models which are emerging in the state of Jharkhand vis-a-vis the last mile conversions for nutrition services. I would like to say at the outset that these are not the models that we had thought of creating, but these are the models that we have observed emerging in the state when we are trying to deliver the nutrition services to the people as far as the convergence is concerned. So I would like to focus here for these 10 minutes over three main convergence models that are emerging and that I have found them emerging in the state of Jharkhand. I'll take one example and I'll just go through them. So first is the service convergence model. So service convergence model we are using in the state for delivering the THR services. So THR services first it used to be delivered by the Anganwadi workers in the state only. Then we had a centralized agency-based model where the agency was supplying this THR to the children through the Anganwadis. But the last year, what we did that we have engaged the self-help groups of the state. We have around 2.25 lakh of self-help groups working in the state. So we engaged with these self-help groups. We have a state body for that under SRLM. So we engaged this body and we entrusted this thing to that you please provide the THR to the Anganwadi. So you procure at the local level. We decided that what are the different things that need to be given to the children and to the women. So they are procuring and they are distributing to the Anganwadi workers, and then Anganwadi workers are making it available to the children and to the families of the women and lactating mothers and pregnant. So this is the model which is emerging. The two strong point of this model is that first it created a clash of interest. So it's not that a single agency is now procuring also at the grassroots level and distributing also. So there are two agencies involved. One is the SSG, who are procuring and making the packets and giving it to the Anganwadis, and the Anganwadis are giving to. So now there are two agencies. So that a sort of quality parameter has been created, has been inbuilt in the whole process. So that is number two. The other point is that the SSG members who are preparing the food for the children and for the pregnant women and the lactating mothers, who are the stakeholders or the beneficiary of the ICDS. So their children only are getting, their families only are getting the THR distributed to them. So the apprehension that there will be something wrong with the quality or they will not give the proper quantity or the proper quality, that has been taken out of it. So this is working well in the state of Jharkhand. It has been completely decentralized, all the SSG. So there's a very good convergence model which has emerged between the Rural Development Department, who is having the control on the SRLM, and the WCD, which is implementing the ICDS. So this is one model of convergence which is emerging, and a lot of inbuilt things, inbuilt issues to maintain the quality of the services. So that is number one. The second model that I would like to discuss is the institutional model, in which we have engaged the institution of PRI at the panchayat level, the Sarpanch, and we are developing leadership for the taking the issue of nutrition at the panchayat level, and we have created a structure that not only the district or the state in one go, but the different segment in the name of the panchayat will be working towards the alleviation of malnutrition in the state. I discussed this in the last webinar also when Agnoti sir were here. And so now this is progressing very well, and we are engaging the sarpanches, the mukhia that we call in the state, and we are training them, we are building their capacity, how they are going to monitor different agencies. So the convergence is being created at the level of the PRI at the panchayat level. And so they are going to do a sort of monitoring for the outcome indicators as far as nutrition is concerned. So this is the second model which is emerging in the state and working very well. And we think that we soon will be starting creating the panchayats which are malnutrition free. But today, what I want to discuss with more focus is the last model that I have observed, and that is the convergence through demand generation model. Now, this is a very interesting observation that I have seen. I don't know all the people are aware or not. We have in the state of Jharkhand, we have started implementing a project called Tejaswini, in which is based on the socio-economic empowerment of the adolescent girls and the young women in the state in the bracket of 14 years to 24 years. And we are doing, we are engaging them, we are mobilizing them through a lot of social mobilization, community mobilizations, and we are engaging them, we are bringing them to form different youth clubs. And these youth clubs, or these AGYW that we call them, adolescent girls and young women, they are imparted different type of training, and then they are being educated on the life skills, particularly under which the health and nutrition is a major part on it. And then we are going to impart them the market-driven skills. So now we have almost completed the life skill part, up to the life skill part. Already we have 1.2 million girls under the under this program, mobilized into around 12,500 youth clubs. So they have been organized into 12,500 youth clubs. We provide them some seed grants to do some activities of social importance, activities of economic importance. They can organize their own activity. So, and we are continuously imparting life skills to them. That's very, very important. What I have seen that during this process, and now they have already started their activities. They are very active. These clubs are very active. So, I mean, in the last week of the last month, what I got to know that a club in Devghar district has what they have created. They have created a sanitary pad bank in their own club, and they said that this is for the human capital investment in the for women. I got to hear it from the newspaper and from other agencies that this type of thing has been created, and I got to know that how they have created this. So when we discussed with my team and with the girls of that club, we found that they have asked different things from different agencies. So certain things they have asked from the health department, certain things they have asked from the education department, certain things they have asked from the WCD, certain things they have asked from the PLIs. So what we have observed that once these girls have been empowered, and we are directly, and that is what Professor Agnihotri sir was telling also, when we are directly talking to these girls and we are empowering them. So, and when this demand is generated at the level of the girls itself, now they are demanding different services from us. So for them, there's no difference where is the health department or where is the WCD or where is the education department or where is the Panchayati Raj department. They are one unit who are creating convergence of different services through itself only. So what we have done now, to my amusement, so we thought that we will be replicating this innovation of creating these 12,500 clubs. And we created a SOP and we distributed this SOP to all the clubs, because that mechanism has been, this platform is very, very good, and the information travel very well. So what happens now that within 15 days, in almost 8,000 clubs, they have already created their own pad bank. It's a really so much so encouraging and so good to know that these girls are doing these things on their own. We are just showing them the way. We are just not even showing them the way. We are just empowering them. We are just informing them, and they are creating convergence of services at their own level for their own purpose. So that is what they are doing it. So we have fixed the date of 2nd October, coming 2nd October, very auspicious day, by which all the 12,833 clubs in the state would have created a sanitary pad bank in their clubs, and we have written to all the district collectors that either the collectors or the DDCs, Deputy Development Commissioners, or the other officers, the DSWs, or the any officer, or the Panchayati Raj institutions, or the ward members, or the Mukhya, anybody can go and then they can inaugurate these clubs so that they can get it. So this is the model that I have observed, that if you create a demand at the grassroots level, at the level of the stakeholders, we call them beneficiaries, I call them stakeholders. So they will create this demand. So they will create the convergence at their own level, and they will draw all the services. So we have decided. So we are not imposing any sort of innovation on these clubs. Whatever innovations are happening with these clubs, they are informing us, and we are trying to replicate on these. So this Tejasni Pad Bank is one innovation that is being replicated all the Tejasni clubs now. The other thing is these girls are creating small libraries. Now I could know that these girls are going to the education department, to the schools, and getting those books that they have been used by the students in the last years, and they are getting those books and keeping them and trying to use those books and library at their village level. So they are creating this institution. Another innovation, some is because this has come from the Poshan Abhiyan also, because Poshan Ma is also going on. So they have started creating the nutrition garden. So some of the Tejasni Club started doing the nutrition garden also. So we named it Tejasni Poshan Wadi. And we said that you can also create your own Poshan Wadi. So now all the Tejasni clubs, now they are creating their own Poshan Wadis. So 5,655 Poshan Wadis have been created by Tejasni Club at their site only. So they have asked for the land from the ward member. They have asked for the seed and information or other technology from the KVKs or from the village level agriculture person who is available there. They have gone to the teachers available in the villages to get some information. So what I mean to say, that creating these services, which was otherwise very difficult, we have to write so many letters, letters with joint signatures, joint signatory letters we have to send and send that you have to do this, you have to do this. Now, these things, when we have empowered these girls, they are creating convergence of service at their own level. Now, we have educated these girls that every girl should know her height and weight, and what should be the weight as per their height. So we have given these charts to these girls. Now they themselves are going to the Anganwadis and getting their weights measured, and they are knowing, no, mera weight kam hai ya mera weight zyada hai, mera itna hona chahiye, mera itna chahiye. So that is what they are doing. The other thing that we have coordinated, that every girl should know about their hemoglobin. Why they should know, we have told them, and what it is all about. So now they are so excited that they are putting this demand to the health functionaries available there, that no, I want my hemoglobin to be tested. And so we want to see that whether they are anemic, if they are anemic, at what level of anemia they are. So this is the very interesting model which is emerging, that if we, I'm still observing it, it's not that it is well settled, it has just started, that this a model it's a demand, it's a convergence model based on demand generation. If you if you are able to create demand at the grassroots level, they themselves will come out, they will feel empowered, they will come out and they will ask for the different services, whether it is from the sector, your sector B or department X or department Y. So this is what the convergence of services, nutrition services is happening through these 12,833 youth clubs that we have created under the Tejaswini club model. So I thought I should be discussing that. I found it very interesting when I was expected to speak on the last mile convergence of nutrition service. So I thought that this should be important, that I should be talking that. What I have observed as these three models of convergence for last mile delivery of nutrition service emerging in the state of Jharkhand. At this moment, I will stop here and can see if there is any question. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, excellent, Dr. Saxena. I mean, the 2-3 very important things that you have raised. And saying that I'm not looking at the last mile part, I'm equally giving importance to empowering the adolescent girl. I think what you are doing is you are making a long-term investment in the foundation of the building itself. Only thing is, I mean, just a word of caution given the past experience with such initiatives, that you need to now move to the phase where you will be able to say कि लोग मिलते गए कारवां बढ़ता गया. So कारवां बढ़ता है या ठिठक जाता है या downside पे चला जाता है. I think that is an important watch that you keep. Another very important point that you have said, that you are looking at this malnutrition free panchayat. So, and you are also looking at sensitizing these adolescent girls towards this whole issues of nutrition. When you are coming up with malnutrition free panchayat, give us probably another 3-4 weeks. We will give you an extremely simple to operate, we'll give a very simple to operate child track GIS. So what it will do is it will give you the location of that particular child, approximate, we don't get into that long. It will give you a fact sheet on the child, which gets updated. So what happens is the CDPO concerned or the beat supervisor is concerned, or even the ANM for that matter, just simply sees it on her mobile and says, "Acha, itne bacche mere sahab mein, itne ma'am hai, ye gaya, ye aaya," because जाएंगे और आएंगे दोनों चीजें होंगी. So we will share that with you. So I think thank you for pointing your strategy. I think other states can also look at it. I think I will move to the next speaker, Swati. Then we'll take all the questions together. I know there are 3 hands which have been raised, but we had decided as a logistics discipline that all the questions will be put either in the chat box or in Q&A, and then I will have I'll get the blame for selecting the question or not selecting the question. So Shraddha and Preetu, my request is put your questions in the chat box. In the meantime, let me go ahead and invite Swati to share the experience in terms of what Madhya Pradesh is doing. So over to you, Swati.
Namaskar, sir.
Yeah.
And a very good afternoon to all the participants and the panelists here. My screen is visible, sir? Am I able to share my presentation?
Yes. You are audible and visible. In fact, we were wondering why did you start with a thank you slide, but then
I just messed it up.
Okay.
Sorry for that. So I would not start my video. I'll just speak. The host is requesting me. So please bear with a video-less presentation with the slides on, which you will all be able to see. So starting again, a very good afternoon to all of you. It's been real pleasure to have a dialogue with so many states and share their experiences and learn from them. And it's always so nice. I mean, this is the second seminar I'm attending with Dr. Agnihotri, and it's so motivating and encouraging to hear him always. And he gives us real good challenges. And it's like pushing us to work out our limit, broaden our limits, and think out of the box. So, sir, just to start, the context behind this presentation is that Madhya Pradesh has recently launched its management strategy plan, which runs from the state to district to block and to the village level. So all the villages, Nagar wards, Nagar Panchayat, Nagar Palikas, they have adopted this action plan in the presence of Honorable CM. And the plan specifically spoke about the nutrition sensitive and nutrition specific measures, along with the nutrition governance that we would want to establish, and a real accountable one, having larger say of people in the decision making and also in the process of implementing the strategy action plan. There is. So just a backdrop that what the United Nations Decade Action Plan has to speak, it had set a measure, it has set a goalpost that by 2030, we should be able to end hunger and achieve food security with improved nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. I'm just trying to put this thing in context just to bring out the point that the issue which we are talking about, malnutrition, is not specifically about the supplementary supply which the department has been doing traditionally, or having a dialogue with our beneficiaries. I mean, it's nutrition is an outcome or a result of a wide range of factors, the causative factors which run through history and have all the reasons behind it. Maybe it is a geographical reason, maybe it is a genetic, a political, health and hygiene issue, or economic or a social issue. So when UN spoke about the action plan, and it made a clarion call to all its member states that how we need to design a strategy and what aspects we need to keep in mind while we are trying to eliminate malnutrition in the next decade and by 2030 to eliminate it. So they spoke about the food systems, and the word they used was sustainable food systems. So we really need to see whether the food produced at a local level is being consumed by the communities, or they are having a right access and availability in the right amount at the local level. Secondly, are health systems aligned? I was really wondering when they use the word health system, and while having a conversation with the battery of our consultants and the development partners, we had this idea that the public health system and the community health system, we need to really see it from in a disaggregated way. Right now, when we speak about health systems, we actually somewhat after the launch of NRHM, we started investing in our community health systems. Otherwise, it was completely driven by the infrastructure and the supply of doctors and their supply of services to people. But somewhere when we started having frontline functionaries as Ashas, Anganwadis, and Asha Sayognis now, and ANMs, we started talking about community-driven systems where prevention can be done largely by involving them, and we can run our campaigns and for awareness and through the community. So in the policy draft which Madhya Pradesh is putting forth for approval by the cabinet, we are speaking about strengthening and establishing a very strong system of community health system, which as Dr. Saxena was also talking about, where community can themselves demand about the services they need. When we speak about universal coverage, we see from a supplier end that what is the percentage of immunization we have been able to do. It has never been onto a format of monitoring that a community or through its panchayat or a local body speaks about that there were 10% of people who were left out of immunization, or there was irregular supply of services or inavailability of HR at the ground level. So these are the aspects which we are trying to get in the strategy action plan and the policy framework. We're also talking, the action plan also spoke about the safe and supportive environments for nutrition. That brings forth on table the nutrition sensitive measures, which ranges from all the departments, and Poshan Abhiyan has a beautiful, they designed a matrix, getting all the schemes together and asking for states to build their convergence plan onto it. But after a few years, we really, there was a realization that while WCT was drafting all and weaving all those strategy plans, we were actually not getting the agenda of malnutrition-free country or a state in the other department's priority list. So while this time, this was a learning which we had, which the department had while implementing the convergence plan. So we have built on the outcome-based monitoring indicators, where we can actually see how a department and to what extent they have been working on those factors which will directly impinge on the nutrition status of the population. Then trade investment policy to improve nutrition. Yes, of course, we are yet to have a broad statement or a broad policy on it, but it is very imperative for us to really start looking at the pattern of investment. Is it actually helping out people to have a proper nutrition status? And somewhere we need to really have a concurrent evaluation mechanism also, where ultimately when we are gauging our economic development or a regional development, we do have this aspect of nutritional development of the communities, and especially the change which has come in the vulnerable communities, and also specifically to adolescent and women, where we see in most of the state, and especially in Madhya Pradesh, where we have more than half of our population in reproductive age, women in the reproductive age suffering from anemia. Then the other part was universal coverage, as I've spoken about it, and then strengthening and promoting nutrition governance. This is one word which really stuck into our head when we started thinking and started deciphering what they actually meant about nutrition governance. So getting nutrition as a development agenda and actually measuring it, as I said, as part of the development indicator, what they meant for, and ensuring accountability for it. So it should not be running like we do have NFHS surveys, we do have various reports coming in. So somebody has to really own up, and there has to be, the government should not, as the Chief Minister rightly pointed out one day, that you all, whenever you make a presentation to us, you start talking about NFHS 4 and NFHS 3. Why don't we have a state nutrition surveys and do evaluate what the impact of the interventions we have been making? So moving on, this was largely, we framed out our commitment around that there will be a nutrition governance at the grassroots level, and we would get in the panchayats in our policy framework and in our program design to attain our goal, and also strengthen the community health system, which will be is the one intervention which we recently started, which I'm going to talk about in detail later, about the community management of SAM children, which the present pandemic has really pushed us to get into action and pick up this concept, while we were just like for the last 2 years, we have been toying with the entire idea and been doing a pilot over it. And also thinking about the multi-sectoral convergence. So most important about this is that a right kind of sensitization of the departments, and actually translating their departmental targets into our indicators, or to say so, to link their departmental targets with our indicators, so that they get a knowledge that if, say, let's say, if I take an example of Jal Jeevan Mission, if they have really covered 40% of a habitation with safe drinking water, so I can actually make an assessment of those areas, and I can show the results of impact of a safe drinking water on the nutrition status of the children and the general population out there. Also then there is a emphasis and special focus on safeguarding nutrition of children in the vulnerable groups. We have seen a pattern of high prevalence of malnutrition in the tribal areas, and then we found that when we have done the survey, as Agnihotri sir was mentioning, that NFHS 4 had a very beautiful data, which actually disaggregated data set into SC, ST population, and then into caste-wise prevalence of malnutrition, and also rural-urban differentiation was made, and also a host of other factors which we could actually assess that what is actually is working behind scene to have malnutrition over the stage and play its game over it, and really frightening us from its grand demeanor. So, and then next we spoke about nutrition communication for sustainable change in behavior. As I was again saying, we was also trying to make it more specific to the local needs and in the local dialects and language. We also formulated a plan around the capacity building and morale boosting of our frontline workers, and of course supporting them with the community-based organization, form of Shaurya Dals and Matra Sahayogini Samitis. Again, we, though finance was not very happy when we had moved this, but we had a commitment from them for enhanced financial outlays. So as I say, low birth weight, we do find that it is an intergenerational cycle, and there are host of other factors which bring us this iceberg of malnutrition, and somehow we really find ourselves at the tip of the iceberg when and not actually seeing it the entire spread deep down, that the gender inequality, the girl-child education, early marriages, and all these factors are contributing in a big way to the situation. So we had done a study in an area where we have a lot of agriculture prosperity, and we tried mapping the how the pregnant women nutrition requirements were met in a wealthy family and a not so wealthy family. And we actually found that even the nutritional share what a lady was getting was almost equal in both the families. The wealth percentile was not making much of the difference because of the gender inequality issue which were prevalent. So in a family, what is the share women gets or a girl child gets is also something which we need to really look at it. And a kind of SBCC has to be built around those negative notions or wrong behavior patterns of an individual or a society as a whole. So when I say we tried, actually we made the districts and also the block level and we developed certain tools for Anganwadi Karyakarta so that she can have because you cannot use such heavy loaded words for her. So we kind of simplified those words, and we wanted her to make her own internal assessment of the village social economic pattern and how it impinges on the nutrition status. And then to build around a convergence model along with ASHA and the Panchayat, also design the strategy. Maybe in few areas, we really need to get rid of child marriages. We need to really have some strong measures for that. Or maybe in few areas, we really need to work on livelihood. Surprisingly, in Balaghat and Dindori, we found that the wasting is maybe high, the stunting may be high, but we were not actually finding the wasting that much. I don't know how this was. Certain patterns when we kind of doing an analysis of the spatial spread. So the gender issues are not there in the tribal areas. The women is having more decisive role, but the economic reason or the poverty levels forces the entire family into the vicious cycle of low birth weight and the low nutrition status of the entire family. So what we are trying to do is every district and every place needs to have a different strategy. Plus, but they need to really know the factors behind the prevalence of malnutrition there. And then also to determine the output and have a very clear outcome-based monitoring. Now, whenever we do any monitoring of a government scheme, we usually have a very typified format of doing things, and it runs all across. We never differentiated it in, and it's not just for WCD, it's across the department. I feel somehow that the differentiation of differential monitoring, the differential monitoring as per the requirement of a place and the differential strategy plan is a must in this case, where there's a whole gamut of factors which we actually can't assess to what degree they are affecting at that place. So the strategy plan which has been launched at the village level the village committee, the village group has decided their achievement targets against which they are going to feed their achievement, and we will be able to monitor their outcome and also have it a concurrent and a periodical impact evaluation done. So whenever we say we are doing such and such intervention, sometimes we assume we are doing right thing, but it may succeed, it may be partially successful, or it may be very successful, or it may it may vary across the board and may not be acceptable in certain areas and may show very good results in the others. So these are what we have just tried doing it, that we need to the upper part of icebergs need real nutrition specific measures, well targeted, and maybe the lower one requires nutrition sensitive. So this is a slide I'm using, taking the data of NFHS 3 and NFHS 4. So the bars, the horizontal bars, the orange ones are the 5 and 6 data. Only the first indicator is a negative indicator. Rest all are the positive ones. I mean, we would want it to be negative. When I say we want it to be reduced. So female marriages before 18 should be reduced. So we see a progress from 57.3% to 32.4% in 15-16. Rest all the indicators, we see the blue bars more than the orange bars. And downwards, when you see this line graph, you will see the orange bars of 5 and 6 nutritional status indicators: stunting, wasting, severe wasting, underweight, IMR, CMR, low birth weight, child anemia, anemia of reproductive age group women. And the blue is of 15-16. So when your orange bar increases, leaving the first indicator, if when it increases to its blue position, we actually see there is an improvement, there is a reduction in all these negative factors of malnutrition or negative factors of nutrition. We saw a reduction in malnutrition. So somewhere I'm trying to say we cannot hit directly, or I cannot say that I'm going to bring stunting from 42 to 30 or 25 without specifically mentioning to what all indicators I really need to work on, reduce them or increase them to actually have an effect on stunting. So WCD through its THR supply or to its growth monitoring cannot actually by this thing can itself can bring down stunting. And it was very encouraging when the Chief Minister in Poshan Mahotsav, he actually made a clarion call to all the departments in all the community and the public representatives to actually come together. Because whenever media was reporting about Poshan, and it was as in Poshan was a bimari. It's a specific standalone bimari which just happens and it goes. But it is not that. I mean, it is manifestation of lot many other factors, and especially, I mean, contributed by socioeconomic status. So that call actually helped us to bring home the point that we need a proper strategy action plan across the departments. And as a state, we need to commit for 2030 malnutrition-free Madhya Pradesh.
Swati, if I may interject, I think you have...
I'm overshooting the time, sir?
Yeah, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, sir. So then we just quickly, I'll finish it off, sir. Nutrition governance is the concept which we have launched, which just to get the PRIs and local bodies participation in this. Then the social capital, we have formulated a tool called Saji Sehat, where we want Matra Sehogni formed at the Anganwadis and Shaurya Dal, which is a group of the adolescent girls, to engage various CBOs formed under various schemes and monitored by other departments like SRLM, NULM, SHGs, Joint Forest Management Committees, School Management, Farmers Cooperative, and VHSCs. So Joint Forest Management Committees, we have really seen the impact of the distribution of community rights for hunting, gathering, and food collection in forest areas, which gave an access to tribals to have a nutritional access to the nearby resource which they have been traditionally depending on. So this is one committee which is very important for us in making a strategy plan for against nutrition. Then there is a dialogue nutrition. I think mentioned about it. We are drafting all our campaign around the local dialect, using the cultural backdrop, actually making the women the center of the dialogue and also the leader of it. We started an Anganwadi radio, which is an Android-based app where we can actually get a lot of crowdsourcing from the village regarding the messaging in the local dialects. And it's customizable. We are not having a deep, pushing down the throat sort of a campaign. We really want it to be flexible and easily adaptable at the local level. Then this is a CSAM. I think I'll just end with this slide. That CSAM we are trying to do is to have a community-based, because we 10% of our children can only with medical complication can be sent to NRCs. 90% of them with a proper management system at the ground level, the community level, we can manage them at the community for the 3-month-long period. We have developed an app also for this to have case-by-case monitoring. And we have defined the roles of ASHA ANMs and how they have to go about. The entire protocol has been. So this actually brings about the convergence of health and ICDS. This is just how we have designed our policy imperatives. And this is a structure that we have designed which has to go along for till 2030. And along this basic RCC structure, we are going to have our interventions planned. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Swati. That was very meticulous, and I think sure with your permission, we'll be sharing it with other participants. When you talk in terms of the action plan, so you are talking of the convergence action plan right down to the Panchayat and Nagar Panchayat level as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Regarding your remarks on, I push people to next level. अब वो IIT में खराब आदत पड़ गई वो student को assignment देने की. So probably that bad habit spills over in these meetings, and I put an assignment. But I must say this idea of concurrent evaluation is excellent because it already answers a question which one of the 5 children with SAM and MAP. But I would suggest that you probably need, if you are confident about the data quality, you need to move to big data analytics and geoanalytics. And then probably we could discuss that offline separately. Your idea of a state level, I will say like NFHS, you can have a SFHS. And my experience is that I had a slight mischievous role in pushing the NFHS periodicity down from 10 years to now it is going to 3 or 4 years. But my view was that between 2 NFHSs, there should be a SFHS. And I can separately share this with you. Orissa happened to have done concurrent monitoring round 2, they call. It is as good a quality as NFHS, but they do it at block level. So I'll share the details with you so that you can take a look at it. But that's an excellent idea. And your iceberg was very good. So because every state has to figure out कि उनका जो Titanic जहाज है उसमें lifeboat है या lifeboat नहीं है. And in fact, I would say Manisha's presentation showed कि वो lifeboat कैसे load कर रहे हैं Titanic पे. So probably that makes it more secure. And this Anganwadi radio idea is something which I would suggest that you should document it and circulate it, because that is something which might be of a lot of help. What I would do is, we are a little behind schedule. I have already asked questions and I have been making intermittent comments. So I will not take that particular part because I have already made this. So there are no moderators Q&A. I'll straight away go to the audience Q&A because I also have a hard stop after 10 minutes because there's a viva of a MTech student which I have to attend as an examiner. So I think we'll straight away go to the questions without much ado. One point was this coterminous thing. In fact, it intrigued a lot of participants. So one question to Manisha practically was that how did you administratively bring this coterminous thing about? I mean, this is quite admirable. And when you talk in terms of THR distribution, is it done in the presence of that VHND members? These are the two questions to Manisha.
Sir, as regards this, the coterminous, making the area of jurisdiction coterminous is concerned,
yes,
it was a challenging task for us. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, the coordination between the health and the WCD departments ensured that this happened. What we found in the field, in fact, this was a feedback which had come from the field with the district development officers working in the field. That there would be an Anganwadi worker who would, we wanted actually the Anganwadi worker to coordinate with the ASHA. And similarly, the Mukhya Sevika should coordinate with the PHC, so that every PHC doctor, he knows who are the Mukhya Sevikas who are following under his jurisdiction. The CDPO must know, and everybody should know who is where. Otherwise, what was actually happening in the field was that one Mukhya Sevika probably was reporting to 2 different PHCs because part of her jurisdiction was falling. So that we sat and we worked out a lot of desk, a tabletop exercise continued. And then we ensured that this whole thing got mapped in Vizag. So in fact, this has helped us further also, like we have initiated our online recruitment. So even in that, it has helped because the Anganwadi centers are now mapped to sub-centers, and the sub-centers are then mapped to the PHCs and likewise to the entire village. So now we have ensured that at least when we are focusing or we are insisting on at least a monthly coordination meeting, even at the level of the PHC, the doctors and the Mukhya Sevikas, they know whom they are supposed to interact with and how can they do it. So this was, I think it was a 6-month-long exercise that we undertook, but finally we managed to do it. And I can share with the states if they want what exactly was the modality that we undertook.
In fact, Manisha, you would agree with me that any bureaucrat looks for a precedent and a GR. तो मान लो डॉक्टर सक्सेना को भी अपने गवर्नमेंट को पटाना हो, वो बोलेंगे सर एक GR देख लीजिए, you know, so you understand the language of GR. So I think you will do a great service to other state governments because they've been struggling with this issue of making things coterminous. In fact, I'll go a step further. This is something where I got blocked by the High Court. I was also saying that we can recruit eligible Anganwadi workers as trainee ANMs, and we will also consider few, the eligible ANMs, few of them as promotion for the supervisor. The moment you have this zigzag career path, the integration will automatically happen, but for which the bottom line was making it coterminous, which you have already achieved. So please document it, and I would request Sujit that from CFNS side, we can send it as a policy in practice brief. और अगर टाइम नहीं है तो मैं किसी बच्चे को भेज दूंगा हमारे यहाँ से, वो अपना MPhil का प्रोजेक्ट कर लेगा उस पे, ठीक है? So
thank you so much, sir, for that. Thank you, sir.
Not at all. The other question was someone had asked, this was in the context of Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand. They wanted to know that to what extent the village health, sanitation and nutrition committees are operational, and are there any indicators of convergence? So I suppose will Dr. Saxena like to comment on this? Village health, sanitation and nutrition committees, are they showing convergence, say in terms of this adolescent girl program that you're doing?
Sir, these committees are functional, and earlier it used to be the health committees, then they got converted into health and sanitation committees, then the health, sanitation and nutrition committees. So that is how they are working. They are working, they make their presence felt also. But then the real convergence that they must derive, that is somehow not happening, sir. So that is the area of concern, and we should, because now what is happening in this ICDS and NHM, the BHSND has become the point of hub of activity, the point of convergence. So we are somehow, sir, yes, we are forgetting our village health and sanitation.
Okay, so if I may say, Swati, be forewarned, because
sorry, sir?
I'm saying, Swati, be forewarned, because this is a pothole on the road that you will encounter as you go along with your CAP plan. But
yes, sir.
But would you have any quick comment on how would you like to
HSNC involvement, right, sir? Is that the question?
Involvement, कैसे convergence हो रहा है? Do you have any practical way of monitoring, or is it more kind of qualitative?
So to say so, number one, when we become apprehensive about, because I have to speak on involvement first, that are they active? Are they functional? Will they do? Will they not do? How community will come? For that, so we need to build bridges for them to get on first. Number one, our program designs actually specifically do not have a role for them. Okay. We do run SBCs for it, but the design, when I'm saying the designing, because we have kept certain activities for VHSNC. Under Poshan Abhiyan, we have given them funds to do meeting, for example, for VHSNC to conduct meeting, have a list of all the SAM children identified, be part of the process of recovery of those children, and we are actually monitoring case-wise recovery of SAM children identified in the community management program. So they have been given a specific role, and then whosoever performs well, then there is a performance monitoring system, which we usually do. WCT always monitors the recovery in NRC, the follow-up and everything. The same way we do have a data set. Now with this data set, we are going to map it with the VHSNC's performance and then translate it into the performance in incentives, which we are going to give them. And also, sir, there is a point where you really map out all the villages, that these villages have really shown progress. We have no data set coming out to actually give credit to the efforts of a village community putting in to do away with malnutrition. So this is the entire concept we are working on that, sir. And let's hope that by January, we are able to show some progress in that and in real tangible terms.
Yeah. So that is where Dr. Saxena has put a board aapke raaste mein ki, aage hump hai raaste mein. So I'm being signaled by the organizers that if I don't stop at this stage, I will lose my job. I'm sure the audience nor the panelists want me to lose my job. So I'll stop at this. I must thank the three panelists for excellent conceptual and practical ideas. And I'm sure for WeCan as well as the participants, it's a rich raw material to learn from and build upon. Without much ado, can we have each of the three panelists, after hearing everything, give us, and this is these days typical TV style. Wo anchor baad mein kehta hai, your 60-second bite. So can each of them give me a 60-second bite for the audience? So we can begin with Manisha, because she is more experienced. So अचानक यॉर्कर आ जाता है, तो she will be able to handle it, and then Dr. Saxena, and then Swati. So Manisha, please.
Thank you so much, sir, because I thank Binu and the entire team for actually organizing this webinar and giving me an opportunity to interact with you. I've heard about you, but unfortunately never got the chance of interacting with you. And sir, initial sentence that you said, that prevention is imperative even if it is not glamorous, I mean, it's absolutely correct. And I totally agree with this. And because I've been working in this department for quite some time now, and we've been silently working on many things, and some things which are not too glamorous, but yes, I thank you for at least bringing this out, sir. And one very important thing, sir, that I would take from this entire webinar today is, as you mentioned, that, and as Swati also mentioned, that concurrent evaluation is very, very important. And that's precisely what we've been also trying, because the NFHS surveys come, I mean, after a very long gap. So the corrective measures that we need to take, unfortunately, we miss the bus by the time we get those surveys. So that precisely what we are also looking into, and quality component really needs to be strengthened in all aspects, not only in the aspect of THR and food delivery and other things, but even the counseling, the home visits, I mean, the softer part of it, of the ICDS service delivery, we really need to build on that. We are working on that. I'm sure with your blessings, we'll be able to do much better than that. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Today you have the IT firepower to do this concurrent evaluation and tech mid-course correction. We will discuss this offline. Dr. Saxena, your 60 seconds begin now.
Yes, sir. I mean, we have been having these webinar, and we are also blessed by your presence and valuable ideas from you, sir. the real value of these webinars will exist when the different experience which have been shared by the state, they can be statewide taken up for the because they are already tested and experienced, so they can be statewide taken by the different states and for the implementation. That will be real value, sir. The type of focus that we have been putting on nutrition for last 2.5 years, I'm sure that with our different intervention at the different state level, and then a combined interventions at the national level, we'll be able to achieve the targets that we have set for us, particularly in Poshan Abhiyan or otherwise also. It's very important that we prioritize our programs, prioritize our practices at the different in the different state as per our requirement, and will be achieving. No doubt that will be achieving. So just one thing I wanted to say, that this is also the time to think that it's not only the interventions of ICDS and NHM which are going to work. So we have to look for the nutrition sensitive interventions also, that we somehow we have not been able to put much focus on. So maybe someday we should be talking about that also, but they are also important. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I think Swati.
Thank you, sir.
Nothing but not the least.
Sir, thank you, Manisha ma'am. Thank you, Saxena sir, and last but not the least, Agnihotri sir, for encouraging us. And this was very informative and a good forum where we usually don't get this kind of forum to discuss interstate sharing of interstate experiences, and that's very helpful. Thank you, the entire team of CFNS and WeCan. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thanks a lot. I think that suggests me that one assignment all of us should give to CFNS. If we can bring out a compendium of scalable best practices, वो सिर्फ best practice रहने से नहीं चलेगा. So, so whoever gives it should also, as I said, as I was telling Manisha, for annexure में GR उसमें लगने चाहिए. And I think if we do that, then across the state, a lot of we need not reinvent the wheel, and everybody can learn from everyone else, because nowadays knowledge is much more flat and it's not hierarchical. So with that burden on Sujit's head, I will now hand over to Sujit. I think you have 180 seconds beginning now.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, and good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. And zero hunger and good nutrition have the power to transform the present and future generation. And today's discussion related with community participation, community responsibilities, Jan Bhagidari, Jan Andolan, I think can break the culture of silence for nutrition outcomes. A wonderful learning session today with so many successful community-based models, rich presentations, great participation, lots of ideas, and I can say excellent suggestions for renewed the collaboration and the clear roadmap for each one of us, those who are taking this agenda forward in many states, many sectors. So on behalf of WeCan and the Coalition for Food and Nutrition Security, CFNS, I would like to express my gratitude and big thanks to Srimati Manisha Chandra ji, Dr. Dinesh Saxena ji, Srimati Swati Meena ji, for sharing the multi-dimensional efforts in their respective states to achieve nutrition outcomes. We are highly grateful to have, sir, your presence, highly grateful to Professor Satish Agnihotri, sir, for moderating this rich discussion, very rich discussion. And I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for all the participants, because I was going through the questions and the curiosity, I think that was coming in the chat box. And that was the purpose for this consultation, how to learn, how to share, and how to raise our questions and clarifying all kinds of doubts. We are also thankful to all our friends, colleagues, and the team members for their excellent support in organizing this learning and very effective session. So once again, thank you very much to all of you for your valuable presence and organizing this a very learning session for all of us. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I think with this, one last thing that I would want to share with Agnihotri sir and rest of the people this is sitting here. So we can, as a practice, is developing all these practice insights, picking up innovations and lessons learned, good practices, and documenting it for sharing. I think with Dr. Sukhdeep and team, we shall work in picking up more such interventions and package it in a manner that can be easily digestible and adaptable at different state level. And we shall jointly kind of continue that effort on our part. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Agnihotri sir. Thank you, Manisha ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Dinesh. Thank you, Rasad. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We formally close. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
So I must rush to my Viva now.
Take care, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.